Hello, everyone, and welcome to our District Administration web seminar here today, which is entitled Making One-to-One Initiatives More Student-Centric with Devices and Beyond, which is brought to you by the generous support of our sponsor here today, Acer for Education. Now, before we get started, I would just like to share just a few housekeeping items. They'll be really quick. If at any time you need any technical support today, please just use the chat panel, which you can find. It's on the lower right-hand side of your screen. Then select on my name, which is Stephen Blackburn, or host, and then just type in your message, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I'm also about to submit a phone number and access code in the chat that you can dial in if you want to listen in privately, or if you don't have any speakers, so look out for that. We will also be welcoming any questions that you have today during our presentation with a Q&A session that will be happening at the very end. So you can submit a question by using the Q&A panel, and that is also on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and then send your questions to all panelists. If you currently don't see the chat or the Q&A panels on your screen, again, look to the bottom right-hand side and click on the expand triangle, and that should be directly in front of the panel name. And that'll be your way to see if you have access to it. Also, the last point I'd like to make, and then we'll get started, is that if you would like to access the web seminar at a later time, you'll be pleased to know that everyone who is registered and all of you who are attending right now, all of you will receive an email at some point soon from our team at DA with a link to the slides as well as an archive recording. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker we have with us today, Timothy Curran, who is the Director of Technology at Bangor Area School District in Pennsylvania. Hi, Tim. Great to have you with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everybody. As Steve said, I'm Tim Curran. I'm with the Bangor Area School District in eastern Pennsylvania. We're about 90 miles west of New York City and 90 miles north of Philadelphia. So kind of an interesting triangle. To get started, I'll give you a little bit about myself. I'm an Army veteran. I started working in the IT field in the military in 1979. I was part of Ronald Reagan's force modernization. I was in the military intelligence. I went to, when I got out, I worked at East Stroudsburg University, which is just a little north of us here in Bangor. And I worked in the media department, servicing the broadcast television, radio stuff. I switched focus a few years later to get into private industry, working for a regional computer retailer. That was back when Apple was first coming out. It was before the Macintosh computer, which came out in '84. So I've been doing it a long time. I worked my way up through that company in the service area, network technicians, Microsoft Novell certifications, all the way up through running the corporate service department and warehouses. And that oversaw 14 locations in 3 states. When the owner of that got sick, I decided to go out and form my own consulting business. And I did that for 10 years, working with small government, public education, and a few private sector niche markets with dentists and doctors. I ran that for about 11 years till my 3rd child was born, and I decided to change my lifestyle, go independent. I made sure all my employees had work, and spent more time with my kids. And an opportunity came up here back in 2015. It was one of the schools that had hired me to help hire their director of technology. And he worked here for 20 years, and then he left, and this position became open. When I got here, this district had no Wi-Fi at all. very few computers other than what was in VMware, so a lot of zero clients, and just 1 gig of wired internet. Bangor is a small district, about 3,000 students, 1,000 at the high school, 7th and 8th grade, 1 middle school, 3 elementaries split up as K to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. It's mainly a rural agricultural area. A lot of farmland that's rolled up into a green space. And so our tax base is really based on property taxes of the people that live here. My department is made up of 5 people. Me, I have a supervisor of technical services, enterprise systems administrator, a network technician, and a desktop support technician. And the 5 of us support over 2,000 laptops currently in the system, all of our networking services, PA systems, telephone systems, keyless entry systems, and the technical connections to our HVAC. So we stay quite busy. As I said, in 2015, there was no Wi-Fi. 2016, we rectified that. We wired the district, installed Wi-Fi. 2017, we deployed Schoology Office 365. We actually were using GroupWise here as an email system in 2017. And then we upgraded our Wi-Fi in 2017 as well for density. And we went one-to-one with iPads after doing some research. And we added projectors with Apple TVs and 55-inch flat panels with Apple TVs in every classroom in the district for visual technology. All the teachers were issued iPads. They could AirPlay and project from the iPads. We replaced the phone system. We upgraded the balance of Wi-Fi for density throughout the rest of the district. In 2020, we merged domains, which created a lot of headaches for us. But we were able to finish that and sync with Azure. And in 2021, we deployed the Acers 7 to 12, and this year we expanded it 5 to 6. So every summer has been crazy. I think my staff really hates me. So we got into the one-to-one not really knowing what we were doing, how we were going to use it. And it was a rush to kind of catch up with other school districts. So after we got our feet wet with the iPads, we started to look at what we were doing. And if anybody is familiar with the SAMR model, we were essentially, for everything we put in place, all we really did was substitution. We just kind of replaced paper and pencil with electronic media. Not really where we wanted to go. The students were using it, but it was stifling. Apple requires to have the Apple Store for installing software, downloading, that kind of thing. But the Apple Store requires a credit card. Since all the Apples were registered to the district, we would have to use the district credit card, and we weren't willing to expose that. So we ended up creating a self-service store through Jamf, which is what we're using to manage it. But we decided on the applications. Again, students didn't really get a choice. So we were looking to replace those in 2021. So in 2019, we started to survey our high school teachers to find out what they truly needed in a device, how the kids were using them, those types of things. At the same time, we realized we were going to have to leave the new devices open, which means allowing students and staff to install software that I really don't have control over. So we needed to look for ways that we could manage those devices, specifically if they were Windows or Chromebooks. The administration tasked me and my department with opening more opportunities for students to become more student-centric, to expand their horizons. And one of the things that we determined was applications I might choose or a teacher might choose for creating a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, there's a lot of different presentation pieces of software out there. Maybe they don't like PowerPoint. Maybe they want to use slides. Maybe they want to do another type of presentation software. Allowing the student the ability to choose the tool that's best for them is really what we decided to do. And we thought if we open that up, it would allow the students to become more creative, allow them to advance. And we encourage the staff to encourage that with the students. And so we looked at, we ended up with Acer as the device. And as we were looking at this, we have a program here. It's actually two programs. We don't allow seniors to graduate early, even though they have enough credit. So we created a program called Diversified Occupations, and we have another one called the Senior Experience. They're essentially the same type of program where a senior will do something else other than come to school for the whole day. The caveats are if it's senior experience, it has to be educational in nature. So taking college courses, going to a job function where they're following a professional and they're getting trained that way, or diversified occupation, it has to be a job where they're getting paid. One of the things we wanted to do, my staff and I, as we talked about it, was to offer the opportunity for students to repair the devices. I mean, everybody can get an opportunity with all of the major manufacturers to be self-servicing. They ship you the parts, you replace them, you ship them back to parts, and the turnaround time's much quicker. And we could have done that, but I have to pay the student to do that as an employee. So I didn't want to put the burden on the taxpayer. So I talked with Acer about becoming an ASP, where we actually get paid for the labor to do the repair. So it's not just self-service, but we also get a fixed fee for replacing things like the flat panel, the keyboard, the motherboard, those types of things. And Acer was really good to work with. They made a lot of changes in the agreement, confidentiality agreements, because as a school district, the right to know requests come in, and we have to make it public. So they were very, very understanding in working with us to create this. The second thing was I needed the students to be trained and be certified to do the repair. Acer does have some online for their Chrome products, but we were looking at a Windows. One of the reasons we're looking at that is in high school, we're preparing students for the workforce or going into higher ed. And where some higher ed have Chrome, all of them have Windows. And most businesses are Windows. So we felt that that was the right way to go. And we were also already Office 365. So it kind of meshed with us. So in 2021, we deployed 1,600 ACERs between grades 7 and 12. They're on a 4-year lease cycle. And then in 2022, this year, we added another set of one-to-one same devices for grades 5 and 6, also on a 4-year lease cycle. When we did the survey and why we chose the Acer Spin B3 is the teachers said because they were using iPads, they needed 2 cameras. The math department was having them do their work, show their work on a piece of paper, take a picture, and submit it electronically. Well, most laptops have 1 camera at the top, so and even if it's a 360, you flip it, you're looking at the keyboard and you can't really see how you're framing it. And the 3B or B3 actually solved that problem. The students were also used to having a tablet device because we had iPads for 4 years. I didn't want to set those students back. So a 360 device helped with that because they can use it as a tablet. The iPads and the cases we were using were very durable. They got dropped, they went down steps, they got run over by a tractor in one instance, and they still worked. Um, and when we were looking at the device, the Acer Spin B3 is also very durable. I've witnessed it fall down the steps already and not be damaged when it's closed. So it's been dropped a few times and it's held up. And then we also wanted Windows Professional for easy Azure integration. There's some security features that we needed for some of the software we're using to monitor the laptops. And we also increased the RAM to 8 gigs and solid state drives to 256. So we wanted a little more to these because we wanted it to uh, be able to have the students be creative. So why Acer? Well, any device that we could find kind of meets the standards could be used. However, we wanted more than just the box. We wanted an educational partner. We needed a manufacturer to work with us to help with providing students additional opportunities in new areas that are outside of the norm. We need a manufacturer that would listen to our ideas and work with us to bring them reality. Acer was that manufacturer. Uh, School districts spend millions of dollars with vendors to buy devices, and they spend that usually through distribution. Um, we work with SHI, and a particular sales rep, Angela, is fantastic to work with. When I talked with her about what we wanted to do, the types of programs we wanted to um, implement here, and how we wanted to make not just the device, but the whole experience around the device more student centric. Um, she recommended Acer and introduced us to the people at Acer. And when we had that meeting, it was very positive, and they did listen to our ideas and they did work with us. The gentleman that worked with us suggested that we become an ASP because that's how we could fund it, the position. So that's how we got there. So how did they partner with us? Well, specifically for the diversified occupations, which is the most immediate opportunity for our students, um, we wanted to Acer make us an ASP. We wanted training for these students. We wanted the students certified to do the warranty repair so that when they did the repair and we turned it in, we still got the reimbursement for the labor. And we wanted the uh, that position specifically to earn it. And they agreed to this. This summer, we actually got our first training. Acer came out, they flew 2 people out from Houston to Bangor. And these were students that we had in this summer that went through. On the left, you can see the laptops were taken apart. These were brand new laptops taken out of the box, unwrapped, and then completely disassembled down to what you see there. And then they put them all back together and had to prove that they work. And at the end of it, these 5 students are actually certified to do the warranty repair on our devices. 2 of them are actually applying for the diversified occupation for the fall semester. So what other projects are we talking to Acer about? Well, after school repair clubs for grades 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. We have an esports team for the last 4 years. I want to expand that. I want to offer kind of like an esports club again at the lower grades to bring that in. Esports, although it's gaming, it serves an under serviced group of students. Typically, your esports kids are not part of athletics. They're not part of the band. They're not part of chorus or theater. A lot of them are loners. Some of them are um, kids that might be in your um, flagged community where you're concerned about them dropping out. So it's very important because let's face it, students don't come to school because they have calculus that day. They come to school for baseball, for football, for the play, for the band, for esports. But in order to be part of those things, you have to be academically eligible. So you have to pay attention to your studies. So it's kind of the carrot and the stick type of thing. So we want to expand that, try to catch the kids earlier. Gaming, building gaming computers. The gentleman from Acer, David Weibel, who we spoke with, he talked about a course that they were putting together for students to build a gaming computer from the ground up, and then learning how to tweak it, overclock it, test it, to get the most out of the computer. And then they take it back apart, put it back together for the next class. We felt that that was something that our students would be interested in as a uh, um, extra course, not necessarily part of the core. Um, and when we polled the students, it was something that they really wanted. So K-12 is an opportunity for young minds to experience new things. This is where they should expand their horizons and try things that are out of the box, doing different things. And a lot of times students don't always think about the things that they want to do. So we as educators should provide opportunities that they're interested in or think they might be interested, give it a shot, see what's going on, not just through academics, but extracurricular type of activities, clubs, those types of things. Um, any device that we provide to teachers and students, it should be able to keep up with the creativity of those teachers and students. It can't be bargain basement, bottom dwelling equipment. It needs to be a little bit higher end, a little more oomph to run different pieces of software that perhaps we as technology people aren't thinking of to be able to do things. I mean, I look for the day when a student who's doing a history project at the high school and talking about a particular era um, puts together a movie, puts together a mock interview with people with sets and props, does a music video or creates a rap song, something out of the norm than a PowerPoint presentation or a written paper. Now you know that the students are engaged, and the students that are having to sit through 25 of these reports will be able to perhaps not be quite so bored because they've got different ways of handling it. Um, Developing partnerships to provide new and different opportunities to our students should be one of the most priorities that we have. Um, the students of the future, and we're here in education not for ourselves, not for a career, not for the teachers, not any of the adults. We're here for the students that are attending here to give them the best possible education, the best possible opportunities that we can afford, that we can put out there. And sometimes it means more work for us, but I think it's worth it in the end. Um, there are a lot of good devices in the marketplace, but how many manufacturers will provide the kind of partnership that goes beyond the financial transaction? Um, I believe that working with Acer, working with SHI, have really impacted our students. Last year, when we rolled them out to the high school, I was down in the library helping students who were having some issues trying to get the office installed and showing where they needed to go. And I noticed that one of the students, she had Hulu, she had Netflix, she had Amazon Prime Video. And I remarked to her, I said, wow, I see you got all the important sites bookmarked there. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I installed some other software. I found out they're not locked down. What idiot made that decision? And I'm like, that was me. Um, she, of course, was mortified. Um, but one thing I found is our students use these devices as their personal devices when they're at home. And they've installed Call of Duty on this. And I was surprised when I saw it on a student. And I'm like, does it actually run? And the student like, well, yeah, not real good, but yeah, it does run. It's playable. And I said, okay, well, that's interesting. It wasn't my goal, but I'm glad it did. Um, and I, I don't care that he put that on there as long as it's not impacting during the school day. But they tend to take care of the device because that's all through their gaming device. That's what they're using to do outside activities that not related to school. So they tend to take care of it better. And I've had actually less issues with damage on these Acers than I did with the iPads. And the iPad was very durable. I was honestly shocked by that. Um, I think if you talk to the people you're doing business with and you ask them, I want to create this type of program. How can you help me? I think a lot of businesses um, would be willing to help. How much they're willing to help really depends upon what their corporate structure is like. And what I found with Acer is that from the top down, with working with contracts and lawyers and asking for major concessions, they were willing to do it. We bought that first group in 2021. And if everybody remembers, getting devices and that kind of thing was absolutely crazy. Um, Acer managed to get the devices here. Every time there was a delay, we had a typhoon that delayed them coming out of Hong Kong. They had issues with getting the touch screens, those types of things. I was made aware of it. And in August, when they showed up, David Weibel showed up in jeans and a t-shirt to help us deploy them, which was going a step above. I can't say enough about them. Uh, so when you're looking at devices, look at it from a student's perspective. Try to move up the SAMR model. Try to make sure that we're putting the focus on the students themselves. I've been blessed with a fantastic administration, very supportive, a school board that's willing to fund these things and be supportive of these things. They've been excellent to work with since I've been here. And I have teaching staff that is just, just chomping at the bit to move forward. Now, they were starving when I got here, and I've thrown a lot of stuff at them. So the teachers actually have a laptop, same as the students. They have an iPad. They have the interactive projectors. They have an Apple TV in there they can project to. They also have a desktop computer in all of their rooms. So we provide them, don't care which one you use, don't care how you do it, just incorporate it, get it involved, get the students to do a higher level of production when they turn in their papers. I think that's all I have for you. I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope you found some of the things cause you to think a little bit differently and maybe go down a different path. Stephen?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Tim. That was great. I appreciate your time, as I'm sure our audience is as well. Now, before we start the Q&A, where Tim can answer your questions live on the air, I have a poll here that I am going to be launching right now uh, that we would really appreciate that you took the time to answer. Hold on, as I launch that in a second. There's a lot of uh, comments coming in, which is good. All right, perfect. There it is. So, what are you most interested in learning more about um, in the future webinars? For example, the student programs and opportunities, teacher and student experiences with Acer or Acer devices or other. And if you choose other, please specify in the chat. So again, please just take the next few seconds to answer the poll, and then we'll get started with the live Q&A. All right, Perfect. Thank you very much. So now we've come to the audience Q&A portion now, where you can now send your questions in. So Tim can answer your questions live on the air. And if you haven't already, you can send in your questions in writing, and you can do that by accessing the Q&A panel that we have there. It's on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. It's the option, it's next to the chat button. If you can't see it, there should be 3 dots or an ellipses next to the chat button. Click on that, and that should bring you to the Q&A panel. All right, so let's see. So first question, so this one's, how was, Bangor, the experience there transitioning from iPads to Acer laptops?
That was actually, when we were thinking about doing that, it was kind of scary. Um, the teachers knew a year in advance that we were not going to go with iPads, that we were going to go in a different direction. The students had no clue. However, we had with the iPads, we had a lot of students that were connecting keyboards and stuff like that to it. So they were really using the iPads like a laptop device. Um, and once the students and the faculty found out that we didn't lock down the ability to install software, the adoption was really, really smooth. We had very few complaints. We had some students that installed some stuff. Now, I say they weren't locked down. We kept them out of the DOS and command prompts. We kept certain applications that are more based on networking and prying. We kept that out. We don't let them get into the task manager, but they can install and uninstall software. We use a product called Komodo that we install on the machines that we can push applications out, and we can also do inventories to see what's on there. And if some of the students remove Komodo, so we just look after 2 days. If they haven't checked in, we block them from the Wi-Fi. And then when they come down and say, hey, I can't get to the Wi-Fi, we're like, yep, this is why. And they figure out they can get caught, and it's been less and less. It was a little bit earlier on. But as far as the transition, it wasn't that difficult. There was some apps that when we met with the faculty, they were like, well, we need a replacement for this, we need a replacement for that. And we had to go out and find them. But we did our due diligence to make sure that we found that.
Awesome. Perfect. So there were quite a few, projects or other opportunities that you're doing with Acer. Um, what are you most eager to bring to your district and why?
Um, Esports. Um, Esports, like I said, affects students who are mostly underserviced by other extracurricular activities that we have. Um, our senior class, we had 3 years ago when it was our first full year in esports. And we had 12 participants at the high school that were on 2 6-person teams, and they were all seniors. Every single one of them was identified the previous year as a potential dropout. They weren't doing well academically. They were struggling. They had high absenteeism. Um, and it was a struggle to get those students to make it through their junior year. Um, they started with esports towards the end of the year, and then going into of their junior year, and then going into the senior year, um, because of having to be academically eligible, um, every student maintained a better than C grade in every class that they took, and they all graduated and were removed from that. And because of that success, well, we decided that we wanted to move this down to lower levels. And um, We have a person at the middle school, a teacher at the middle school that's wanting to do an esports club. He's going to partner with the esports coach at the high school level, and we already know some of the kids that are interested, and those are the same kids that are having they're flagged as potential dropouts and at-risk students. So that one I'm most interested in because I think it's going to have the best positive effect on our students.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I do have one more question that has been submitted already. Now, before I ask it, I'd just like to let the attendees who are here to know that there's still time. So if you'd like to have, Timothy answer any questions that you have, please make sure to submit them now, and I'll make sure that we ask them during the webinar. All right, so for this next one, so how, has your experience with Acer and Acer devices, been during the pandemic?
Well, we didn't have the Acer devices in 2020 when we had to shut down. The governor shut us down in March of 2020. In 2021, which is when we got the Acers, we were actually in person 5 days a week all year long. We did have some cyber, we did have some remote distance learning, and we did put the Acers in the hands of those students. And we had very little problem. Again, the Komodo software that we put on there has a remote control capability with permission of the user. So that when they were at home and they were experiencing issues, it was mostly they didn't know how to use the device with the camera and that kind of thing because there's a shutter on it. So they got to know to open the shutter, those types of things. So we were able to remote in and help them. We had Acer's turnaround on any repairs that we had. That kind of thing was phenomenal. I have to say, Acer, like I said, when we got them, we had all sorts of supply chain issues, and they air freighted them to Philadelphia and used a private truck to bring them up to us. So it was they went above and beyond to make sure we were able to hit the ground running at the beginning of 2021.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, great to hear that, of course. Thank you. So that is all of the questions that we have here today. Now, as I go through my closing slides in just a few moments, for our attendees here, please feel free to continue submitting your questions. And if any come to mind, and I'll make sure that they're sent over to our friends at Acer so they can be answered at some point in the future. But first off, thank you again, Tim, for your time here today. And of course, thank you to Acer. And to our audience, I would also like to thank you for joining us here today as well. For those of you who enjoyed what you saw, there are many more upcoming web seminars like this one that are provided by us over at District Administration, which is the leader in editorial coverage of news, trends, and current issues in K through 12. We have a wide range of readers who subscribe for free to DA, such as yourselves, and they stay up to date with us in the print magazine, online, in our newsletters, and web seminars like this one. Also, if you would like to watch this web seminar again, or for those of you who believe that what Tim talked about would be helpful to your colleagues, which I'm sure will be the case, you'll be pleased to know that our team at DA, we will be sending you an email later tomorrow, most likely with an on-demand recording of this web seminar and the link to the slides so you can have them on your end. So with that, on behalf of DA, this is Stephen Blackburn. Thanks, everyone. Take care, be well, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much.